If I was a female founder, I would want to be a female founder today because there's so many supports, resources. Welcome back, everybody, to the Founders Korner. In today's episode, I have a very special guest with me, Cindy, who is the CEO and founder of CarePal. Full disclosure, we were the ones that actually built her app, but I invited her to this podcast to tell her story from the very start of her project all the way to what it is today. And I'm super excited to introduce her because she's one of my favorites. I mean, all my clients are my favorites, but Cindy has a special place in my heart for sure. Everybody say hello to Cindy. Hi, Cindy. How you doing?
Hello. Thank you for having me, Seth.
Thank you for joining us.
Yay.
Okay.
I love that. I'm only your favorite because you picked me up off the side of the road where I was curled up and dying. You took me home and fed me.
You'd think that would be uncommon, but it's not. But no, you have a special place because, Cindy, I haven't met someone who is very passionate about what they do. And it's one of those industries that's like not necessarily like, oh my God, I'm going to be rich overnight, but you actually truly do it because you love it. So that's kind of why I'm so excited to have a conversation with you, to be honest.
Well, thank you.
So let's tell everybody, what is it that CarePal does? What does Cindy do? Give me the full backstory for the audience.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I am Cindy Sim. I am the CEO and founder of Team CarePal. Team CarePal is, basically we're transforming the caregiving experience through a mobile app and other software to come. The healthcare system is supported by millions of unpaid family caregivers who are looking after a loved one or an increased risk of burnout, depression, financial insecurity. They are the backbone to our healthcare system and they are completely unrecognized. So we are co-designed by caregivers and we are built around their pain points. So we will allow caregivers to connect with their support systems and manage all aspects of their caregiving in one place. It's like any other solution on the market right now.
It's like you've practiced your pitch.
It's like
how many times have you said that pitch?
All the time. Oh, so many times.
It's kind of funny because every time we do like the Founders Korner workshop and like I talk to founders all the time. I always tell them their pitch is one of those things that's never perfected. In my mind, you're constantly adapting to your pitch.
All the time.
Like to this day, and ours is relatively simple, and yet here we are still making changes to our pitch. So no, I love that pitch that you can clearly tell you've done it once or twice.
That one I actually just stuck behind the camera against the wall like right before we met because it changed. It already changed.
It changes. So that's that's a really good spot to start things off. How many times did you have to go through change? Because in my opinion, the entire story of, I don't know if you watch Friends, the Ross taking the couch upstairs and it's like pivot. Like it's a real thing. So how did you decide you were going to get started with this project? One, and then two, how has the experience been so far from, bird's eye view? I love that.
My idea.
I love the laugh because it's so true. I know exactly where you're going to go with it.
Well, it's just like this little idea I had. And I was like, I know a little bit of marketing and business. And I'm like, this would be easy. I'll just make this cute little app and I'll market it. And, I'll just do some customer service and it'll be great.
So how easy was making the app?
Oh my gosh. It was so painful. I had no idea. I was completely ignorant and clueless. I was lost. I was being thrown around in an ecosystem I knew nothing about.
It's not easy, is it? It's not easy. Everybody always thinks like software, it's so easy. I would argue it's harder than manufacturing because manufacturing is more mature. Like it's easier to kind of like, you know what I mean? With software, that's only been around for 10 years. Like we're still making processes as we go.
Well, and you're pivoting while we go too. So even like now there's things available, that weren't available even last year, really, right?
100%.
Like,
the technology on software just changes on basically every 6 months.
We're not supposed to, as startup entrepreneurs, we're not really even supposed to know it all or know what questions to ask and I just feel the industry really needs to support us. And I sure wasn't. And it was costly. It was really, really painful. A lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of tears.
Yeah.
I was a mess.
One of the things that we try to do at the workshop is literally, because I agree with you, there is no resources for startups in the software space. And what I find is like a lot of communities or the groups, this is more Canadian, I would say, because they're government paid versus like the US, which is like very privatized communities. But like one thing I notice is like you get a lot of communities that are basically like, yeah, rah, we're here, we're right behind you. And then you ask for help and they're like, you're just not big enough yet. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't put you on my board saying I helped you because you're not really there according to the government standards. So that really bothers me. And how did you get around that?
Oh, gosh, I didn't. I dove in.
It's lonely, isn't it?
It's so lonely.
Yeah.
It's so lonely. And I only stumbled my way through it. And I just kind of found a path that seemed to work. And I went down that path for a bit until it didn't work. And then you just started grabbing onto other things that might work. Like there's no set path. There's no help. Like
there's no playbook. There's nothing.
No.
Yeah,
absolutely
I agree with that. What was your path?
Paisley.
Like if you
Paisley Churchill. If you're listening, you were my path.
Yeah, well, and she comes from the development background, right? She has that experience and the process, and she was able to guide you through it.
Yes.
She was the one that introduced you to us.
I know.
See, she knows what's up. She knows what's up.
She did. You know, I honestly, like when I started my journey and I was like, you know, I want to build a native app because I heard they were the best and I wanted the best. So, you know, I wanted something that was the best, and then data security was really important to me, right? For my vision, those are two things that I needed. And so I went and I researched, and I was like, I found some app developers. And then for me, I was like, well, they really have to get on board with the purpose, the why. Yeah. And so when I interviewed them, I was really hoping that they would understand the vision. And I went with the one that understood the vision because I thought that was most important. Yeah. Which it is, but it's not the only thing.
No.
So, and then I went down that path and I very quickly realized how horrible it was. Like it just was not for me at all. Not for us, not for a startup. I don't think like a startup, there's so many more steps that you need to take before you get to that point.
Yes.
That's like an end point. And I just dove in headfirst into it. And so, that's when we very quickly realized, and, unfortunately, there was a lot of other things like communication, went through a lot of different project managers. And I'm going to tell you right now, any startup that's looking to get into bed with an app developing company, take your project manager out for supper and go on a date because it's going to be like a marriage.
Yeah, it literally is.
So important.
They're your best friend.
So, honestly, they, like Milan too, like it wasn't even just like, talking about the app in general. I feel like he was my therapist to get me through a lot of things. Like,
and it's kind of funny because the second contract we got with you guys, I was like, hey, we might be moving Milan off the project management role. And you're like, no, what? No, please don't. You're like, but that's my Milan. No.
I like message Paisley. I'm like, he's not serious, is he?
We got to let him know. No. So I immediately didn't because we did hire a new project manager and then you guys were like, no, I don't want, no.
No, we had already been through that.
And I agree with you. I think that the project managers play a major role in connecting the team, like the internal team of like the development team to you guys and your team, because they truly do have to understand both sides and really, and I always say this, project management is people management, not project necessarily.
Yeah, 100%. 100, like therapy. It really is like therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a big one. Make sure you get along with them. Like that's huge because communication is going to take you far in the game.
When you guys were seeking, because we came in after, like again, full disclosure, we did the app for CarePal, but we came in, I think it was 6 months in to when you guys had started the process with someone. Is that correct?
Probably were 8 months. Yeah.
8 months.
Wow. Yeah.
Can I say what you had received in 8 months? Can I say it out loud?
You can say what we received. Yeah.
Okay, so I think a lot of people will want to know the background. The story is that Cindy and I met through Paisley. Paisley actually attended one of our workshops and was looking at us like, you guys can't be for real. Because again, she comes from the industry, right? She gets it. Everything I said, she was like, yeah. So we got introduced. I think you guys were at 6 months when we got introduced and you guys had received I would say, but this is personal. So, not everyone would agree with me, but I think a mediocre design for your app and a ton of research. And that was $50,000 in. Am I right?
56, I think.
Yeah. And I was just like, I looked at Cindy and I was like, can I help you, please? Let me help you. So we pulled we did pull a really special deal for you because we did love what you were trying to do. And we did notice that you weren't going for profits. You were going for mission. And I was just like, I looked at Milan and I was like, Milan, we got to help these guys. Like they have the right mindset. They are moving towards the right direction. Cindy will never quit. She'll never quit. She's stubborn, but not only stubborn, but it's different as an entrepreneur. And I always tell this to entrepreneurs. It's different to have a mission and then the money follows versus having a mission to result in the money. There's a very big difference between the two. Like the vision to go for, here's my passion, here's my vision, here's what my purpose is. The money will just result in it because you're just going to keep grinding it out until you get there. Whereas the ones that like do the mission based on money end up with quitting immediately.
I'm fighting for caregivers and they are facing burnout and they have no help. So like, why on earth am I going to take my time or not, finish this project? Or like, I just don't have a choice. As long as they are out there burning out, I'm not going to stop.
And I don't know if do you remember why I said I love your project? I don't know if you know it.
What?
When I was at Manpower and I was building their platform for AHS, for Alberta Health.
Yeah.
Alberta Health, it was caregivers. It was CCAs, comfort care aides, that helped the elderly. So the whole point was during COVID, nurses had to take extra precautions and steps. And so they needed help with the other stuff, which is like, like reading to the elderly and things like that. So as soon as you came to me, I was like, oh my God, I love what she's doing because I've already dealt with those guys. I've already worked with those guys. So that's why it was such a passion project for me too, because I was like, we got to help these guys. That's what it was. So it was, thank you. That was not paid for.
Yes, that was of my own free will.
I love that. Okay, so when you started building the product, what would you say besides the product? Okay, let's put product aside. We know that was challenging. What was the next biggest challenge you ever ran into when you were being a founder?
Oh, besides that.
Besides the biggest thing, yes.
Besides that biggest thing, I guess, reiterating, like selling a product without a product.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like pre-selling, just because because I had said, I'm going to have it by this time. And then it was like, I promise I'm going to have it by this time. Like it just made me feel like, how am I being taken seriously? Like when, I'm battling out these, app developer and I just can't move forward. So that for me was really a struggle because I was out there passionately, paving the way and I just couldn't, but I did. You guys came along and here we are.
Well, and the biggest thing with pre-selling too is like you're kind of selling your entire vision, right? And it's hard because when you sell the entire vision and at the end of the day, you keep saying, I swear next month, I swear next month. You're right. You don't, they take kind of step back. And I think at this rate, every company has heard the same story, which is someone has approached them with, I have this idea. Would you be on board? They don't really have a plan on delivering. Like it's not their fault. It's the founder's curse, we'll call it, right? Where they just don't understand how hard product is. And, we never, when founders come to us, they kind of go, hey, I had this development team. I need something like tomorrow. And it's been, a year. We never talk poorly because it is hard. It's not an easy thing to do. I think all agencies have their agencies, people. I'm very hesitant with people hiring internal teams because it takes very special kind of people to be an internal team in my mind, because you can't have a full team. So you need pretty much one person that can do like 8 different things. And those are hard to find. Yeah. But how did the fundraising go for you?
Oh, well, that was painful. I feel like, so in the beginning, we had, definitely some support from like my parents, my husband's parents to kind of, establish that small little pocket of money. And then we dove right into bank loans, the Canadian Small Business Loan. Right. And I think I was like the very first female ever to get a business, a loan for an app because it's not technically a tangible asset. And that took me months and months. And I went through one bank, and they were like, yes, love it, yes, everything, yes. And then it got to the very end and they were like, shut down. No, yeah. They had, no money for that risky investment in that port, whatever. And so then I went to actually TD Bank and they like instantly, they just like, yes, like there was just, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow.
You've had a wonderful relationship with them too, right? Which is rare, by the way. Most founders do not have that kind of they don't have a remotely good relationship with their banks if they go through the loan route.
Yeah, my bank rep was incredible, and she connected me to other bank, members, and then they, I was nominated as influential women of the year through TD Bank.
Yes, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yes,
I did say congratulations on LinkedIn, but more officially now.
It did. It was absolutely amazing. And just for TD to recognize women, entrepreneurs is amazing. And to have that opportunity to be interviewed was phenomenal. And then I had the East Coast manager sit in our health economic model video as well. Like she was there and she emailed me after and she just loved it. And, it's just, who does that? So they were amazing. Not
a lot of banks, I can promise you that. They may have a very misunderstanding of what software development is, but they do not do that at all.
No.
I always find people, like the banks especially, they're always about the tangible, right? And it's like, you do realize data is tangible, code is not. And I have this argument on a regular basis. I think you mentioned it to me with TD, and I was like, put me in a room with TD. Let's see what happens.
Well, because I got them to wrap their head around that it is an investment. It is worthy of, investing in. But then we had to get through all the check boxes. And one of them was they wanted me to insure it. But their check boxes were so dated, because they're carved out in stone. Yep. And so one of them was getting fire insurance on my app, and I was like,
fire insurance.
And I was like, I can't do that. That's just not possible. And so I had to get my insurance guy.
What does fire insurance mean?
That's what, and they were like, well, I don't know. And the policy has to be in your company's name. And I was like, I can't even do that. It's not.
What?
And so, so I had to get my insurance guy, who's absolutely amazing, to call my bank. And I got all the stakeholders in the room. And
I would have just said, yeah, sure. Fire insurance. Here you go. It was
ridiculous. So those were those little hurdles in the background that even though they said yes right away, there was still, some hurdles we had to get over.
So I love that you didn't take the traditional model, because most people will go after VCs and target the angels. And if it doesn't happen, they quit. But you took the bank route, which is unique by a lot. I would say you're probably one of the only ones that has a bank loan for a startup. No, maybe two. Maybe two
honestly,
I've dealt with.
I wouldn't have even known anything other. That's just the right.
That's fair. Yeah.
I was just stumbling through again. It was a path I took, and it seemed to work.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I always tell people is when we're dealing with startups and when we're doing the coaching and consulting, we always tell them, look, there is no playbook on how to get this done correctly, but I can promise you, I've done 1,000 things wrong. So I know 1,000 ways not to do it, but I don't have a playbook on how to do it correctly. I just have more experience on the things not to do.
And in all honesty, you should go the non-dilutive funding route first anyway, in my opinion.
As much as you can. Yeah. Well, and it depends if you really truly believe in your idea. And I think that's where a lot of people hesitate, is the bank loan to them is they're still on the hook. Whereas with an angel and VC, they're really taking on the risk with you. So it's more of a confirmation to yourself that, hey, okay, my idea has to mean something because this guy's willing to risk it as well.
That's right.
So it's more like a personal.
Yeah, I'm in this. I'm in this.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of goes back to my model of, there's a passion behind what you do and there's a passion what you do to make money. They're two different things. And I would invest in people like you, Cindy, 100% of the time. Just so you're aware. No, legit. Because you will fight everything you have in you to make it work. Whereas I think the other side, it's coming too hard. I'm not saying all of them, but they will crack faster than the ones that are doing it just out of love.
Yeah.
So bravo.
100%.
I give you
Thank you.
applause.
Thank you so much.
Applause.
I appreciate that.
This podcast is sponsored by Ego Stroking.
Seriously. But the other funding routes, for me as a founder, it wasn't until I stumbled upon Edmonton Unlimited.
Right.
And then I started going through their programs because I was like, hey, there's programs exactly what you guys are talking about with Korner, which I absolutely love, because yours is going to be focused on the software development and the business behind it. Because every business is different. And so through them, then I was able to, learn about Alberta Innovates and then, all these other grant opportunities, and you get, shot out into the network of everything. And then you learn the ecosystem. And I think that's really important.
The ecosystem is huge because you need to understand that you're not alone. And I think with a lot of entrepreneurs, they feel alone a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, I was talking to two gentlemen last week sometime, and we were talking about, and actually before I say this part, what did you think of the ecosystem that is the government funded ecosystem? So Alberta Innovates, for example, is funded by Alberta, the government of Alberta. And then you have like a couple of Canadian grants out there. What are your thoughts? Let's hear as a founder what you think of grants and government funded communities.
You know what? I've been really spoiled because I think it really comes down to your advisor with them.
Yes,
and
I agree.
I've built a very strong relationship with all of my advisors. I have so many advisors and mentors. I couldn't even name them all to you right now.
Oh my God, that's a full-time job alone.
I literally just collect them and never let them go. Yeah. And so we had Rick Davidson as our Alberta Innovates TDA. Unfortunately, he retired. Rick, if you're out there, I'm still mad at you for this.
I'm mad at you too.
But
they're rare, the good ones.
Yeah. But we also learned that you had to follow the steps. There's a strict, guideline. They want to see certain metrics. They want to see you check the boxes and do the things. And so we actually had to kind of backtrack a little bit and get some things in order so that we could progress. And the same was with, we've got funding through IRAP as well. And same thing, we had to start at the very beginning. We had to start building that relationship, get them to do some research projects for us, start small, and then you kind of had to work your way up.
Yeah.
So,
the thing we notice is a lot of startups, they become really reliant on those grants. And I think that is the worst kind of way of funding because you're at the mercy of the government. And the government is not technologically advanced, one. Two, they don't truly know the startup world. And when you do grants like that, the entrepreneurs become really reliant on Alberta. Like, for example, if they have an advisor named in Alberta Innovates, you're right, every single one of them are unique in their own way. But I haven't met one yet that has had their own startup.
Yeah,
but they're
that's a really good point.
But they're very, very critical of startups. And I'm like, you've never done this, so how are you being so critical about it? Right? And I'll have conversations with a couple of them where I'm like, you're so off. Like, it's actually, you shouldn't have this job. And so, I feel like with the grants, I think the issue comes down to the government, where the government will say, here's the metrics I need you to hit, right? Otherwise, I'm shutting this program down because it's no longer worth it because I'm not going to be able to convince taxpayers' money to do this, right?
Yeah.
And so when you create a job where you have to do very particular things in order to keep your job, that's where I think things go wrong, right? Because like other government programs, they're looking at, are you where I need you to be for me to record you as a win? If not, I need to move on.
Yeah.
So you're not actually helping build the ecosystem. You're really just trying to show off the ecosystem, which I think there's two different things.
But I mean, that's just what their mandate is. I don't think they can do anything about it.
But in the States, because everything is private community, their help for their startups is incredible. They give you every resource they possibly can to make sure you're successful because they're privately funded. And then, of course, at the end of the day, they need something. And, then you become successful.
They have their own mandate too.
No, for sure. For sure. I just feel like it's a little bit different.
Okay, so if you're to pivot away from the grants, because they are different. I found a huge success in the other types of services provided, like Expert on Demand, the ERIC program. And Technology Alberta. Oh my goodness, I don't even know where I would be without those programs. They were probably
100.
the most value to be able to give us experts, and they would pay for the experts. I tell you, that is.
Is that government funded too?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So there are some programs that are good.
Yes.
Just the main
absolutely
ones.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. So I hats off to that. But I haven't experienced the USA ecosystem.
I have told every entrepreneur, I'm like, the first thing you need to do is wrap yourself around the ecosystem. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, you have to get involved. Again, my only concern is when I tell them that, they kind of go in too heavy and their entire focus becoming part of the ecosystem. And they kind of forget that they have a product that they have to build.
I could totally see that.
Because you only have so much time in your day to be able to manage the entire business because you don't have the resources to do everything. You really don't. You got to pick and choose, right? So
it's true. 100%. And that's a big pain point of it, because you're trying to get out there, you're trying to grow your brand, and you're trying to, build the base. But at the same point, you're trying to like build your product as well.
100%. How was it being a female founder? Because there's a lot of resources coming around for female founders right now. If I was a female founder, I would want to be a female founder today, because there's so many supports, resources that are just specific to females.
Pros and cons, though, there's still not enough. We're still hurt, right? If I were to pitch to VCs, come on, the chances of women getting VC funding is absolutely ridiculous.
Which to me is mind blowing, because in my opinion, women work harder than men.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says.
And what do they do with wealth? They drive change. They reinvest it into their communities. Women do amazing, amazing things with it.
So can I be honest with you, though? In my opinion, the reason women do that, though, is because of the fact that women also don't get the resources that the guys do. So they're a lot smarter with the money because they don't get access to as much money as men do. Men get access to too much money, and then they're just like cowboys when it comes to it. So I'm with you. But I think if you change that, I think you might start balancing the seesaw.
And you might be right with that. You might be. But I really think as women, we are the caretakers usually of families. We are out in the communities. We see the pain points. We see what needs to be solved. And we want to fix them.
I'm with you. I don't judge. I think men, women doesn't matter to me. But I love women founders. I don't know why they get such stigma around them. I get both sides of the story. And I'm just kind of you can say the same thing about the other sides. I don't really, right?
But as a tip for women out there, if they're thinking about starting up their companies, that
was the point of this topic. What tips do you have for women founders?
Give yourself 51% of the shares.
Oh, that's smart.
Be majority owned woman company, because there is, like you said, there is a lot of opportunity right now.
Yes. I agree with you. So as a female influencer, I'm glad we were able to ask you, because, at the end of the day, it is a challenge for female founders to kind of break through the barrier. But I would say today is the best time for you to be a female founder, in my opinion. There's a lot of resources. That being said, maybe not enough, but still significantly more, because I've seen some VCs being made by female only VCs, and they're just female only investments. So men don't even
to be honest,
straight up, they say no males. I think we were talking to one VC, and they were like, I think their mandate was anything but white men. That was I was like, that's kind of racist, but I mean,
oh no.
But what am I going to say? Hey man, that's racist.
Well, that's, the pendulum is swinging a little, it'll come back and it'll balance out.
Exactly, as always.
I mean, women are a little angry right now. They're just getting into the game. They're just getting into the game. Well, think about it. Like myself, I grew up, on the farm, right? And so I
did not know that.
Yeah, my role was in the kitchen, doing the cooking and the cleaning. I didn't get to drive the tractor,
That's fair.
And so I didn't get invited to, the finances discussions or the table or anything like that. I was that traditional female. My generation just now are coming to the table, and we are taking control of finances. We are starting our own companies, and we are just showing up now.
You go nuts.
Yeah.
I've told my wife multiple times I would be more than happy to be a stay-at-home dad. I think I can manage the home stuff. No problem. If she makes more money than me, I am more than happy to stand back, cheer her on. In our current situation, it's not the case, but hopefully in the future, you never know.
You never know. You never know. Yeah, definitely. I did the stay-at-home mom thing for years. So
there you go. She's brilliant. So I'm sure she'll break through eventually.
Oh, with you behind her? Yeah, totally.
Right now she's behind me. So, she's pushing me and being my rock. So, but, at the end of the day, this is kind of opposite. This is more relationship advice, I guess. But, I always tell founders, you do need that support factor. Especially when they're in a relationship, you need that person to be able to stand by you and be your rock through the entire process, because it's not easy. And like you said, there's a lot of tears that happen, right? It's not just for females that cry. Everybody goes through the struggle. and it is heartbreaking. It is exciting. There's no middle ground. It's like swings, right? Exactly. It's a roller coaster of an experience. I always tell, I'm always like, I don't know why I'm crazy. Like, I don't know why I deal with startup world. Like, it's an emotional roller coaster. I think I'm going to die sooner because of it.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I've aged a decade since I started this. And it's a good point there because like I raised my babies until they were like grown.
How many kids do you have, Cindy?
Well, 2, but they're adults.
2. Okay. They're adults. Okay.
They're adults. 21, 20. Yeah. And so
Cindy, you look like you're 25. How do you have 2 adult children?
I married my high school sweetheart.
Oh, there you go. Wow. You have such I love your story. Look at this. This is textbook storytelling right here.
He followed me home.
I remember meeting him and he was like, because of the whole situation with their first development company, when he met us, he was like, very like, you better not hurt her. She's my everything. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's okay. I got her. Don't worry.
Yeah.
She's in good hands now.
Time. He's very protective of me.
I love it. But again, you're rock, right? You need someone in that situation.
Well, and I actually sat him and the kids down. I was like, listen, before I take on Team CarePal, I need to know that this is going to be okay. Because like, I'm not going to be around. I'm not going to be that same person. I am not going to leave my office for years. Could be like, this is my new baby. And I needed to make sure that my family was behind me on it. And they were. They definitely were. And they cheer me on all the time.
It's not easy. You need your partner on your side. Yeah. You really do. I'm with you 100% on that. Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
I love it. We talked about the products. We talked about finance. We talked about relationship advice. This is great. This is why I wanted you on here, Cindy.
And the other one real quick is peer support. Find the peer support. Like that was, you want to talk about like what helped me get through the journey. When I went through the pre-accelerator through Edmonton Unlimited, the pre-Propel program. I don't know, man. I met like 10 other companies, startup companies, and we literally like survived war, it felt like, together. Every day we were like on camera together for months. Like, and at the end of it, we built these relationships. It was like going to camp, like summer camp as a kid. We still connect. We still email. We still go out for coffees. Like they are my brothers and sisters in war, man.
So let me ask you this, because I'm curious about this. I want to know if it happens to everybody. Did you guys notice that your stories were identical in a lot of ways? Like every time you guys were like, I'm struggling with this, there's like 6 others that just turn around and were like, oh my God, yes, I'm going through the exact same thing.
Yes.
That's what I always tell my founders. I'm like, you're not the only one experiencing what you're experiencing. No. Every single one goes through the same emotion, but you need that support system.
Yeah. 100%. And strategic pauses, like just to kind of get back to the basics and somebody to talk to about it. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of my friends and family, they don't understand what I do. I couldn't even begin to describe to them. Yeah. Like I go back home and they're like, so aren't you building that app? When's that going? And I'm like, yeah. I
hate that story so much when they ask you, how is that app going? And you're like, shut up. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm like, I don't even know. I'm not even going to start. No. But like,
I hate that question, but they're doing it out of care. They're not doing it out of like malicious.
No, they do. But like, I remember how ignorant I was in the beginning of my journey. Like they're even more so like, but like to try to explain my journey, it'd be like therapy. Yeah. All over again.
It is therapy. I'm with you. I'm with you. It is therapy. Good. This is why I actually really enjoy talking to startups all the time. Like the reason I love doing my workshop is because when I talk to them, all you see in the room is So this lady in Portland, and part of our workshop is to basically be able to say, create focus. Like you want to make sure you're focused and make sure you avoid these things, because what happens is you're going to stretch your development team too far and they're not going to do anything well. They're just going to do everything mediocre, right? And immediately she was like literally like this. At the workshop, she was like, and then so we always have a session where we're like, okay, work on that worksheet. And I came to her and I was like, are you okay? And she's like, I needed this before I started my product. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, everything you told me not to do, I did, and I've suffered for it. And here's where I'm at right now. And I was like, okay, stick around after the class or the workshop, and I'm more than happy to give you some like free advice. As a business person and as a developer, I'll give you true advice. And when she stuck around and I sat down with her and I said, look, here's what you need to do. Refocus. Don't go trying to fix all those other things. You're going to delay your project further. You're a platform. You need this part to be this big, and then your customers will follow, right? Yeah. Because you can't do marketing for both sides. So I gave her that advice. I think it was a month later. I got an email from her and she was like, thank you so much. I changed all the suggestions you made. We now have actual inventory to sell. We actually have customers. Like I have goosebumps just telling that story, right? And that's what I love. I hate when startups fail because it's not their fault. They don't have the resources. It's such a wild, wild west when it comes to the startup world. And I hate that. I hate it.
It is true. You're 100% right.
And this is exactly what I mean by community. The community needs to help them through that. That's the whole point of a community, not for the ones that have already made it. I get it. You're trying to say, okay, if you have enough with you, you'll make it. But there's some that will make it if you just guide them a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and then here's the other thing. So you go back to that VC kind of ecosystem, right? And so you got to get in there and you got to, meet everyone and you have to play the game. You have to, as much as I don't want to, you have to.
It's the worst thing. I hate it.
But I go to these events, where all these, founders and entrepreneurs are going to be, and you're supposed to be all supported and stuff, but you walk in there and there's this sense that everybody knows what they're doing and they got their chests puffed up, and there's no authenticity whatsoever. And I was like, how am I going to get help in here? I feel like if I were to ask a question, they would look at me like I'm an idiot or, I want to go to Alcoholics Anonymous for entrepreneurs. I want to be like, hi, my name is Cindy. I am a startup.
By the way, that exists and it's a very successful program. It's called Fuck Ups. I'm not joking. There's one in Edmonton. I'm not joking. There's one in Edmonton. There's one in YYC. I actually know the people who run it at YYC and they do a wonderful job. They do amazing every time I see it. But it's all about how you fucked up, embracing failure. That's, I think, their motto. And you're right. There isn't that. Because everyone's puffed up their chest because they're like, I'm talking to VCs and I got to prove myself, right? And it's to be frank, I as a VC am only looking about you and how you're going to make through it. Not that you're already there. Not necessarily. Right?
True.
So I'm with you. I think we should make that program.
I think so. I want to go somewhere.
And Edmonton entrepreneur SaaS edition. We'll call it SaaS edition.
Yes, there you go. Oh, I love it. Yeah, somewhere, I don't know, just somewhere for us to go to. And I would like to give back to that ecosystem too. So maybe I'm a little bit further along and I've done my fuck ups a little bit more. I could share those and I could give that advice. And I want to hear other people, talk about it too. Because nobody has it all together. Nobody has it 100%. So stop pretending like you do. It's not okay.
You know what? I think we're actually planning to do a Discord channel specifically for Founders Korner, but literally all it's about is hey, tell us about your failure, and maybe someone will jump in and tell you here's what I did to avoid that, or here's how I managed that. So Cindy, you're one of our in-house entrepreneurs now, is what I heard there.
Yes. Done. I will. The only reason that you can have a strong ecosystem is by giving back to that ecosystem.
Yes, 100%.
And so many people, like I said, I collect advisors and mentors they're going out of style and I don't let them go. I will give back to that ecosystem because of all the help that I've been given. We're only as strong as we are together. I feel
collective.
Really strongly.
I love it. Cindy, this is why I love you. This is why you are a special guest for me today.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being there, being there for the community and also being here for us, again, for the community. So I appreciate that. Yes. What would be your one final advice to every entrepreneur out there starting their software SaaS business?
Get really comfortable with your why. Know your why. No, it's the only thing that's going to drive you forward. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's the one thing that's going to keep you up at night. It's the first thing that's going to make you hit the ground running in the morning, and it's going to get you through all of those really hard low times. I
love it. That's great advice. I agree with that. I agree with that. Because it is 100%. About grit. It's about grit. And if you don't have a strong why, you ain't going to stick it out.
It's not going to work.
Nope. I'm with you. Cindy, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Thank you for giving back to the community, even though it's only in Edmonton, which is a shame because I think you should be international community giver.
We will. We will. One day, we will.
My girl.
We got big plans.
We do. Definitely we do. All right. For everyone else at the Founders Corner, thank you guys all for tuning in and listening in to Cindy tell her story from start to finish and being brutally honest too. And I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Because they deserve that. But if you have any comments and concerns, let us know down in the comments. We'll relay the information to Cindy. And like she said, she wants to give back to you guys. So ask away and I'll help. She'll help. You got a crew here. So take advantage of that.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, Seth. This was amazing.
Thank you, Cindy, for being here. I appreciate you. All right, Founders Corner. Till next time, Corridor out.